destroyed.
We never stopped loving each other. The fact that we couldn't live together, or that I wasn't prepared to play second best to anybody, because I really feel I'm worth more than that, as he feels he's worth more than that. Even now, I still speak of him in the present tense, because it's very strange. I don't even think of him as dead, really. But we were still in love, and the fact we couldn't get on and we couldn't live under the same roof was just something that happened. And we used to go to these horrendous divorce meetings. I mean, they were nightmares. And because Marc was worth a lot of money, there were things like settlements and property settlements and alimony monies, and even though there weren't children involved or anything, or animals, and they was fighting over the cat and the dog and all that sort of stuff. And it was how much a month you're going to get and which credit cards you can... I mean, it was absolutely awful, very painful. And we used to go to these meetings set up usually by Tony Howard, and i.e. on Marc's camp with all his team, which was no longer my team because I'd left the pitch. And I'd go and arrive with my solicitor, Anthony Rubinstein, and the two of us would sit there, and Anthony would open his briefcase, around this huge conference table. Anthony would open his briefcase and take out a packet of digestive biscuits, not even chocolate ones. And it was totally disarming. He'd give one to everybody, to all these solicitors. Everybody, all the way around the table. And then we'd sit, and they'd all munch away at their biscuits, and Anthony would close his briefcase, and then the proceedings would start. And Marc would sit one side, and I'd be the other, surrounded by all these minions, and we'd look, and we'd gradually look at each other. And at one meeting in Manchester Square, we were just, it was so devastating. It was nothing about us. It was like all these people were carving us up, taking all the years we'd spent together and like pulling them out, just like pieces of a spider's web. And they were all sitting around rather like spiders, and they all had like bits of your soul, and they were all pulling on them and pinging them. And we took one look at each other, and Marc stood up and said, "I'm going to the loo," and I said, "I'll come with you." And we both left the room together. So everybody, as I turned to close the door behind us, there was all this sort of like blank looks, like they've both gone out of the room together. I think they thought we were going to kill each other outside, so get it over and done with. And instead we went to the lab, and not for a wee, and to get away. And Marc put the lid down and sat on it, and I sat on his knee, and we just put our arms around each other, and heads on shoulders, and just tears, not sobbing, just tears, and held really tightly, because all that was going on was absolutely nothing to do with us. And yet there we were being carved up, and we could have stopped it, but we didn't know how, and we were all being advised to do this, that, and the other. And so it went on, and it went on for a long time. So I went away and lived in Mexico for 2.5 years. And so we had the decree nisi, which I went to court for, which was so horrendous. I hated it. It's horrid. But you have to apply for an absolute. Either Marc or I has to apply. And none of us would. And we never did. So we were always married, even though we couldn't be together.